All right, so continuing on reviewing for, well, just learning and reviewing, I guess. Interviewing, reviewing, and learning stuff. All right. So, doing a quick overview, a little catch up here. We were going over the fact that C sharp, one of the limitations that C sharp has is that it can only inherit from one concrete class. That means you inherit all the properties and all the methods of a class, um, just like you would in any other language. But it cannot do it more than once. It's one time. For example, compared to C++, C++ can inherit five classes or seven classes or two. I think there's a limit somewhere, but it can be more than one, right? Okay. The mechanism that the designers chose to kind of make up for this, or to well, not compete, but just to emulate the behavior, is called an interface. And using an interface means, so while you have the concrete class, if you inherit from a concrete class, that means you could become it. You have a full costume, and you could become that full transformation, right? And but an interface means you could just get a mask, a flimsy mask that you put it on and say like, oh yeah, I'm this, and they're like, oh, but it's very flimsy. You don't get the full concrete power that you would get from a normal class. So you would say something like, let's say our wizard character inherits base character, and the way it is just also implements, and then an interface. Normally you start interfaces with the name I. So let's say it's also some kind of magician, well, some kind of caster or something. Caster. Okay, so that means you can all well. I mean, you're already a wizard, so let's say demon or something. Demon class. So this means that you're part of the base character, but you're also part demon in a way, or you could be treated as part demon. Um, by the way, the interface and the kind of the abilities and the methods for the interface are set somewhere else. I mean, they exist. They don't contain anything, but they exist. You have to make them yourself. You have to create them yourself. All right. I'm really again. I don't want to go too deep into this because it's a little bit advanced and it's gonna take a little time. But again, so you understand, inheritance is only one class. But if you want to emulate, you throw some interface in there, and you could sort of emulate the behavior by implementing the function and the actual functionality and creating the functionality of what the interface would do. Does that make sense at all? Maybe?
Yeah.
Somewhat? All right. Uh, Dave?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So we're kind of went on a tangent here. We're always go all over the place. But again, this is solid knowledge. This is solid learning. So solid learning is never wasted. It's never a waste of time because this is, um, you know, solid. But anyway, okay. So let's continue. Let me just put this over here. We don't want that. Set up Azure Cloud application with Azure SQL Server, Azure application. We did that, right? It's just fiddle around with some buttons and shit and press stuff. It's not hard. I mean, that took me a few, and you guys saw me do it, and you kind of did it yourself too. When basically it's the same thing. It's much easier because we did it the hard way on our local databases, right? When we downloaded and we installed the SQL Server on our machines and set up the databases. The cloud solution is much easier because it's just, hey, you want a database? Click yes. That's it. It's not really that hard. Yeah, setting the cloud stuff, it wasn't hard at all. Shared code with others. Yeah, using Team Foundation Server. TFS, baby. What is it that we use?
Team Foundation Server.
That's right, TFS. Just gotta throw it in there. Yeah, that's how we share our code. That's our code repo. That's our mantra. Yes. Okay. Learn about mobile programming using Xamarin and video games using Unity. That is, we have to go over this, I think, because I mean, I think we had one class with Unity, and I think Dan was in here, but you are,
Yeah, I missed that.
yeah, I mean, you are familiar with Unity,
I
somewhat.
am. I was actually doing a little research on my own. It wasn't very fruitful, but yeah, I was trying to figure out what exactly we would want to have Unity be part of in that bullet point there.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's pretty easy. It's not that bad. It all depends how you're introduced to it. It isn't hard, I don't think. Yeah, so these two we need to go over maybe in the next two or one class. Just well, the next two classes probably to get an idea and to get in there and jump and start doing stuff. Uh, okay, so far so good. All right, but I mean, you guys are aware though, which is important, that you could do mobile programming for both. Um, what is it? iPad? Yeah, for Apple and what's the name of the Samsung products? I guess Android. Yeah, Android and Apple just using C Sharp and Xamarin. That is what you need to take away from it. Because normally, if you want to do Apple programming, you have to stick with Apple. You cannot do shit in Android. And if you do Android programming, mobile programming, you cannot do anything in Apple. So Xamarin is kind of a pretty decent middle ground. You don't have as much power as the full, you don't have the full development power, but a lot of the time, really, you don't need it. I mean, 90% of the time, you're gonna be able to do whatever you can do in the others. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a trade-off, but the trade is very tiny compared with what you gain. Is that good? Does that make sense at all right there? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. And Unity is you just make video games using C Sharp and the Unity engine and Visual Studio sometimes. I mean, you could just use Unity itself. Okay. Set up deployment of website to Azure or Azure. We've done that, right? We know what's up, right?
Here we have.
Yeah. I mean, once we set it up, all we need to do is just go here, go plip, and then publish cloud. Boom. We set it up, and it's nice. Easy peasy, beautiful cover girl. Very nice, very easy. Okay. And okay, yeah. So far we have been able to pretty much intelligently answer most of these questions, except certain ones, which are kind of tricksy or advanced, or we're just not aware of them because we don't know and never ran into them. Are you guys ready to tackle some of those?
Sure.
Okay. Do you need 2 minutes or 3 before we go bulls out? No?
No.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so expand tier software. We know that already, so we're good. Right? Flip. All right, so Dave, what's an interface?
An interface. A way to like use C# to inherit more than one class.
Yes, okay. or at least emulate inheritance for more than one class. Okay, that's good. That's good. That was pretty good. I dig it. That is normally that would be good in if they ask you that in an interview, boom, you need to win it. All right. Okay, yeah. So let's see here. Blip, blip, blip. Right. Blip. The dreaded Ajax. Let's see if.
Synchronous JavaScript and XML.
Yep. Yep. It's I don't think we're ready for that yet, but soon. Soon. It's the Ajax, and there's something else that is next to the Ajax. Okay, Ajax and JSON. Okay. It really isn't that big of a deal, but it has to be introduced or marshaled in a certain way. Okay, so yeah. HTML forms. Yesterday you guys were a little bit wobbly in it. Tell me. How does a form work? And yeah, how does it? What happens? Give me the group, like the flow of. I have a form. I'm asking you some questions in a form. In NVC, give me the flow. Let's say I'm asking you what's your name and your age, and I have a button. Okay. Let's see. Then give me the flow.
So I'm entering my information in the form, and as soon as I click on that, the action from that page, that page information gets directed to the controller, which looks for that action, and then decides what we're going to do with that information, or we're going to send them, how we're going to process that information.
All right. That give you a 6. 6.5 out of 10 on that one. 6.5 out of 10. All right. Dave, go ahead. Give me the flow. Actually, 1 second. Hold on. Can you guys hear my fan? Is it hard?
No, I hear nothing.
Okay, good.
Background noise. We have that in this house too.
Okay, no, just making sure. Yeah, okay, give me the flow for that form and the button. Boom, go.
The front-end user fills out the forms. You press the submit button. That submit button gets the information from the front-end user and send it to the action. And then from the action, it goes to the controller that looks for the host of that form. And then the process that form spits out some type of view page that displays the user input.
Okay, all right. Well, it processes somehow. Yeah, I got you. In this case, yeah, it's gonna output or spit it out to a view page. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, you get, I guess, a 7 instead of a 6.5. You get a 7. But you guys are forgetting something. Okay, there's 2 things that you guys forgot. I mean, you guys were correct in the long run. Overall scheme of things, you guys were correct. But it's very important that you understand that the form is posting to an action. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
The form is posting to an action. I mean, you guys sort of mentioned that, but not really. You guys use the term probably listening. Really, the action is listening for the post. It really is. But you also have to bring out, and you have to say, you have to make sure you say that the form is submitting with a pose or through a pose to that controller and to that action. And then once the action gets it, it processes it. Right? Okay, that is very important. That is very important. So that is kind of the flow. Make sure you guys do not falter, do not hesitate on that. That is so. I will go back here and what is get versus post? Dave, what's a get? You're very low for some reason. I think your sound. Is it just me?
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm getting sick or something.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
I noticed it the other day. I ended up turning you down, Caesar, so that I could turn the volume up so I could hear him better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I'll bump it up a little bit. Okay, but
No,
go ahead, Dave.
He's definitely really low. I have a hard time hearing him. I have the volume all the way up on this.
Yeah, let me user volume play all the way. All right, no problem. Go ahead, Dave. I mean, I can still hear you. We can still hear you.
Stand the way of getting data to URLs, links, etc. Getting information from the internet.
Beautiful. And how in a browser, what is usually associated with a get?
In the browser?
Yeah, in a browser, like how do people usually? You said links, right? So try to throw the word URL in there, like through URL. Yeah, so that's how you use get. You know, you use it through URL. Yeah. Okay, no problem. And Dan, what's a post?
A post is basically how you would send the information. It's usually in a form.
Yeah.
And it tends to be more secure. It's not going to be visible through URL.
Nice. And which one handles more information? Which one can send more information?
That would be the post.
Yeah. All right, Dave. What is one of the downsides of using a get?
The maximum character for URL is 2,000 plus characters.
Nice. All right. So I assume the post would be more secure, more cars. Okay, good. Yeah, that has to be second nature, because again, there are a lot of people that go into an interview and they cannot answer this intelligently. One of my first interviews, I was not able to answer it intelligently, and it was oh yeah. You have to understand, once how do we put this? Once you kind of become, when you're first starting in programming, you have a lot of holes in your knowledge, right? For programming jobs and stuff, because you haven't done it, or you don't know, you don't really have anybody to guide you or something. I mean, you have an idea of what's up, but you have so many holes that they're kind of all over the place. So it's very easy, for them to get you in any of these, because you're full of holes. That is one of the strengths of a boot camp. Not only our boot camp, any boot camp, is that any boot camp should. Once you finish it, you should be somewhat. You shouldn't have as many holes. You should be kind of solid, so you don't fall for some of the easier questions. But yeah, no, I fell for a lot of easy questions that, you guys would consider easy.
In case you're interested, the length of the URL is highly dependent on the browser. Chrome will allow 32,779 characters.
Damn!
Firefox and Safari do 64,000.
Jesus Christ! So since we checked, some of the new browsers can give you a lot more.
Yeah. That said, most search engines stick to like 24K.
Oh.
2000 is still, Internet Explorer and search engines are pretty much your bottleneck there. So
Got you. Oh, okay. So for okay, I got you. Yeah, because you don't want them to be too many. Yeah. Okay,
It'd
so
still be super weird to have 2,000 characters.
yeah, 64-ish. Still limited though. Still limited, right? Yeah. So this is good though. This is good. Um. Yeah. I mean, I think they had to. Uh. They had to kind of up the maximum because a lot of the stuff that happens these days is through Ajax and JSON, and you need a lot. You could do a lot of stuff with that, especially if you have a secured service. So yeah, that's why they had to kind of make it secure, allow more. I mean, like allow more characters because you could do a lot more, but it requires a whole bunch of stuff to make sure that it's okay. But again, for our purposes for now, it's still less secure and it's max. There is a max character no matter how high it is. It is less than the host. Okay. Oh yeah. So well, let me see. So engines, search engines, around 2K ish.
Yeah, 2048.
Okay. All right, that's good. Okay, so yeah, so don't forget about this flow. The flow for a form is very important because that is your bread and butter. That is how we live. That's what we breathe. Get information there. Okay. Okay, not too bad. The next one, the next thing that we got to talk about here in this list is web services. Oh yeah. Oh, I just checked over here. They have $2 Ayani. Good shit.
What now?
$2 Ayani deck.
Yes.
I'm just looking at some
I'm like
posts.
going to every Walgreens and looking for those decks
Damn.
because those are clearance, and I'm checking the clearance section very carefully at Walgreens.
Fuck yeah. Oh, I think I saw some of those somewhere. Did you check? Oh wait, why is it doing this
I
damn line?
saw like 99 cents Yu-Gi-Oh booster packs.
Oh, okay.
Gotta get that money, my friend. Gotta get that money.
Yes.
Gotta get that money. Okay, how do I, if I put this here?
That's fine.
Why is it putting this damn stupid line? It's a bitch line. What if I type? Web services. Why is it putting that damn line? Oh, that is weird. If I type web service,
Did you copy a line?
I might have, but no, I don't think I did. API. All right. Okay, so this is another. It's kind of an important concept. You know what? I guess we'll do this here. All right. Well, before we continue, did you get any Toys R Us action or not really?
I would get a few Funko Pops and that's it.
Man, should have jumped in there. Okay, so anybody heard of web services or web API? Anyone ever hear of it?
Just a little bit.
Not really sure what we're talking about when we say that, but yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine. Yeah, one of the most important things also, and you guys have kind of seen it in pretty much every job, right? That I mean, well, not every, but most job applications that we have seen are postings, right? This is Huawei. Yeah, look at that. You see web services. You see it?
That's
Yeah, web services, REST, SOAP. Yeah, I mean, they all say web services, or pretty much a lot of them. Sure. Okay. What web services are, you know web services as actions, as NVC. For example, you guys see a controller here? Okay. So, do me a favor. Imagine, you see we got Dan roster or Dave roster here? We got a roster here, right? What's your roster, Dave? Well, okay, so Dan roster. Do me a favor, Dan. Actually, Dave, what does that do? What does that action in that controller do?
That controller.
Yeah, what does it do?
It summons a action for Dan roster.
Yeah, and what does it do?
Goes to a view page for Dan roster.
Yep, but what does it do?
Lists all character in the database.
It's what?
Lists characters in the database.
Yeah. But here, it gets characters from the database, right? So it pretty much, the whole thing, it's the point is that it gets all the characters from the database, right? And returns them and passes them to a roster page somewhere. Is that clear at all? It is. Yeah. So when we call this roster page, I go to it and say, hey, give me this roster page. I'm calling it, and the roster page, well, I call roster page, and the roster page goes to the database, well, opens a connection, goes to the database, gets the roster, and returns it. Do you guys understand that concept?
Yeah.
Okay, I know it's so stupidly easy, but it's very important to follow the flow. So I'm calling it, it connects to a database, gets some information, and then returns it. Okay, here it's returning it to a view, which we see, right, as a web page somewhere in the browser. Is that good? Is that clear? Okay, again, follow along, and if anything is not clear that I'm asking you, let me know. Okay, yeah. So I mean, I know it's easy. It's just we go to we code roster action and get to list, and boom. Okay, and then we return it to a web page. Okay. Now let me ask you another question. Okay. Well, let me continue here. Currently, we are the ones that are using this, right? And sort of we're the only ones that are able to use it because it is our application, and it's sort of our domain, and it's going to our server and is going to our applications. So we're the ones that are the only ones that can use it. So whenever I go to Dan roster here, right? I'm gonna go to Dan roster, and again, once I go to it here, it goes back here, gets this information, retrieves it from the database, and returns it, and then just paints it on the browser somewhere. Okay. And this is how MVC works. And usually we're the only ones that are able to do this because this is our application. Okay. Solid so far? Yes. Right? Good. Okay. Dave, solid?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what a service is, or a web API, a web service or a web API is you letting anyone else out there or other people out there in the world use your service or use your action. That is all it is. So that's why it's called a service, quote unquote, because you are allowing them to query your data, use your actions by giving them the path or giving them the name of the function or the action. Okay. So let's say, for example, so all web APIs or web services they are actions that other people or that we can use from outside the internet or from other places in the internet, not only from our application. Okay. From 1 to 10, is that understanding at least a 6? What I just explained?
Yeah. Not like.
Well, we're gonna do
Yeah.
we're gonna do examples now, I think,
Okay, cool.
or at least make it a little bit more solid, more concrete. All right. So so on web API, so an API, all it is just an action. That's what they call it. It's just a web API or a web service. You're providing a service that they can use to do something or get some kind of information. So first of all, let's expand. Actions. God damn it. Motherfucker. Hold on. Actions or functions that are exposed to be used or consumed by people out in the internet. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so I really should have started this with saying that normally no one other than our server can use this function or this action. I mean, you guys already know that. I have already said it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just. No one but our server can use our application. Well, usually in a perfect world, there are ways around it, but we don't have to worry about that now. They can attack our server with some kind of request or something. But for now, we're learning. Don't worry about it. Use our server. Yeah. Use our application. Actions. Controllers. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, so they're actions that are exposed to be used or consumed by people in the internet. And so then let's say, oh, by the way, so this is our action here, right? Well, first of all, Dan, or Dave, if you were to turn this into a service or a web API function, or an API or an API function, whatever you want to call it, a web service call, what would be the main purpose? Why would people want to use it? What does it do? What's the function? Why would I want to use it? I'm going to give you $1. Why would I want to use? What service are you providing here?
Characters for your game.
No. What exactly is this? Well, I mean, that is one use, yes. But what am I getting here? What data am I giving you? What am I selling? What is the service I'm providing?
Access to the database.
Which access in particular?
For our characters.
Well, yeah, I'm seeing the roster. I'm providing. This is how I get the roster, right? The current roster. Yeah. Uh,
guess I have a hard time. I'm trying to visualize what you mean by the customer will use it as a service, and I don't understand how they would use it the way they're using it. I mean, they
um,
have it on the web page. You know what I mean?
well, because it's not a web page. It's I haven't gotten there yet, but services are not web pages. They're kind of libraries or services that they run somewhere. They run on a server. So they're somewhat like services, but they don't have a user interface. They have URLs, for example. Yeah. So
Totally lost me at this point.
yeah. Let me try to approach it a different way. A different way. Um. Okay. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Let me restart. Let me go back here. Uh. Yeah. They are not web pages. They are kind of like functions. Well, you know, libraries or functions or non-UI functions, I guess. All right. Yeah, let's do a couple of examples, and then I think it'll be a little bit more clear. I think. Okay. Yeah, I think I started off because the distinction between this and that through MVC, it's kind of very similar when it comes to actually doing it, but the concept is totally different. I should have taken it easier or gone around another way. Okay, so let's go back to the drawing board here and let's restart here. Okay, so forget about MVC, forget about everything, right? Or forget about web pages. Okay, let's say I want a way of getting some kind of information. All right. Let's say I'm a bank, or actually, you know, I'm a casino. So let's use the uh, casino example. Okay. All right. And there are bookies out there. All right. So now, let's say that the bookies need all current odds information at the time, the latest odd information. Odds information. Okay. And they need this. They need the latest information, and they need a place to get it from. Okay. So so far so good. Yep. Nope.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. So all a service or a web service is just a web page or without a UI or just functions that you could call through the internet. That is all it is. So you see how our actions return a view, right? Okay, so our actions return a view, which is some kind of a web page, right? So that is kind of the UI, right? Okay. A service, since it doesn't really have a UI, would just return through the browser, or not really the browser, but just through HTTP, would just return a bunch of names. So it would be some kind of list or a string with all the names in the database. So it would be like, I don't know, what do we have here? Oh, let me see. Oh, hold on. So it would be like Harry, Conan, thing one, and no, add over. Okay. All right. So let me go back here. Yeah. Okay. So again, so it's kind of they're kind of actions that do not return a view. They just return the information itself. Let's say in text. So if I were to use like query your action, Dan, to get the roster, what would that return to me?
I'm guessing my information is what you typed in there.
Well, yeah, it would return the information, the roster class. I mean, it would return the roster from the database.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yes, in this case, it would return all the characters from the database because that's what I wanted. All right. So, I know exactly what we're missing though. I know exactly what we're missing. We're missing because this. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. This is a bad example here because I just realized what exactly we are missing here. Services depend on two sides. Hmm. Actually, let me see. Should we do another one? Services. I think I need to go in through another. Well, fuck it. We're already here. You guys ready? Okay. Let's do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. All right. Okay. So, okay, this is one thing that you guys need to kind of take on faith and understand and just accept. Okay. A service provides, well, exposes a function that returns some kind of information. Okay. So, so exposes or well, lets you use a function or method that returns some kind of information. Okay. We use this all the time. Okay. Have you guys ever seen um, Google Map?
Yes.
Okay. Um, Google Map, the way Google Map works is their API, they have an actual function that is called, I think, get map, right? And then you give it some kind of coordinates. Like, let's say, I don't know, I'm just going to make something up. You give it a zip code, right? 07201. And it returns, what kind of information do you think that's going to return? Well, a bunch of map information, right? Yeah. Map info. Okay. Now, let's say credit card companies, they have functions or methods that let you know whether or not a credit card is valid, right? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, so credit card companies, so yeah, let's say is valid. All right. So yeah, returns whether or not, and let's say they have some function called is card valid, and then you give it some kind of credit card number, right? And then returns what? What kind of information would that kind of function return? Exactly, yeah, a boolean, yeah, returns bool. So true or false. Yes. Okay, this is good. Okay, so yeah, I totally forgot because web services depend on two parts. I was just kind of using one part and I totally forgot about the second one. Okay, so let's bring home. Let's make the first part concrete though. Okay. Yeah. So banks. What kind of? Well, I mean, we use bank services all the time, right? So banks. Let's say you have a function. What like check balance? Well, let's call it check balance. And then you give it your bank account, right? 27. This is your bank account number, right? Well, let me just say bank account number right here. So you give it your bank account number, and then what kind of information is it going to return? You think? All right, Dan, you there? Hello? Did we lose Dan? I can't hear.
Well,
I think Dan fell asleep.
yeah.
Yo, Dan, wake up!
Hello. No, I had a program hijacking my browser. I'm sorry.
Oh, all right, no problem, no problem. Yeah. Well, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. So we're working slowly towards the grand unification of our explanation here. But yeah. So, um, yeah. So banks, let's say they have some kind of function out there in their service.
I heard you. So
Yeah.
we're basically checking one that the account is a real account, and two, we want the amount that is in the balance.
Yeah. So it returns what?
A number, an integer.
Yeah, an integer. Well, a long, yeah, integer.
Yeah.
Returns number, uh, int long, right? Yeah. Um, okay, yeah. So imagine all these businesses. They have these functions out there that are kind of um, listening for you to ask them something, right? Let me see. Yeah. Let me see. Let me write this. Functions, methods, listening you to ask. Okay. Yeah, and again, they return some kind of information. That's sort of what they do. Um, can you guys think of any kind of other function there is out there or service? Same thing. I think. Well, what about the DNV? The DNV has one. What kind of service would the DNV have? Can you guys think of anything? Well, let's make something up. Is license valid? And then license number. Alright. So I have a license? I don't know. I think it's back. No, that didn't. License. License number. Okay. What kind of information would that return?
True or false.
Yeah. Bool, true or false. Um, Another one. Um, well, cops, police department, right? Police department. What kind of functions or services uh, would they have, you think? A little bit louder. I can't hear you. Sorry.
Huh? Oh,
Can-
kind of service would they have?
yeah. Like what kind of functions or methods would they have that would be useful to provide or service to people, or not only people, just the cops
Oh,
themselves.
that's,
Was that?
Oh, I was talking and y'all couldn't hear me.
No, no.
Bring a SWAT team to someone's house.
Well, yeah. So I mean that would be called SWAT team, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
we could do a
Call.
license plate check.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go with license plate check. That's
Something
easier.
more real. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So license plate check, and then you give it, license plate number. Well, plate number here. Plate number, and then what kind of information would that return? You think? Text, right? Bunch of text, probably. Strings, text, or maybe pictures. I don't know. But mostly it would be a text report. Like, oh shit, the shit is stolen. Or like, no, this guy's okay. This guy lives here and there. But it would return mostly string or text, correct? About the plate. Okay. Is that clear? Does that make sense there? Okay. And don't worry, this one's a little tricky to get, so no worries. Once you guys understand, it's easier for you guys to get the how to use it, but I really should have started in the other spectrum of explain what it is first. That is my bad. But yeah, so license, yeah, so license plate check. So the cops would use this service, right? To check, do license plate check. All right. Okay, now let's say that there are certain sports teams, like baseball team or something. Baseball teams. Yeah, not baseball team. Yankees. Let's say the Yankees. Okay. What would be a kind of important service for them to provide or let people use, or not only people, just themselves use, like in their business? What would be good to know for them?
Getting stats for all the players.
Yeah, that would be good. Get stats, get player stats. But the most basic one, with the most important one, I guess, it would be get roster, right? That way you know who the players actually are at the moment. Because that would give you the latest roster. So get roster. And what kind of information would that return?
Strings, names.
Yeah. Strings, names, yeah, strings, name, etc. So it would be like Bob, Marley, Charlie, etc. Let me throw Billy in there. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so we're kind of getting into the concept of there being some kind of service running out there that we can ask questions to, and it can answer and return some kind of information to us. I mean, we have seen kind of a lot of these, right? Uh, okay, so I mean, is that? I mean, so far, does that make sense? Like at least this part here.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, yeah. So we have all of this, and these let's make believe that these services are out there. Okay, and just to make everything and give a really good example, right? Um, let's say Pokemon Go. Yeah. Okay. What kind of call or service or function or method would Pokemon Go have that we can? Do you think that we can query or what kind of things would what kind of information would it give us that we can find useful?
Roster of Pokemon Series cover.
Exactly. Yeah. That damn. Yeah. That's really good. So Pokemon roster. So get Pokemon roster. Okay. I mean, I assume it would be like your ID or something, right? Your ID. And then you would get, returns list of Pokemon. So it would be like Pikachu, whoever, Turtle, etc. Probably War Turtle. Okay. Okay, so far so good. So far so good. Nice. Okay, so this is very nice here. This is very nice. So these services are out there in the world, exposed by different vendors or different companies, and they are exposed out there because people need information. That's pretty much the gist of it. The whole point of this is to provide a need. Yeah. Let me see. Provides needed information. Right? Okay, needed information right there. Yep. Yep. Yeah, so again, the DMV would have a lot more, it has is license valid. It would have a lot more different functions or service calls that we can make. That they will do all sorts of different jobs, or they will do all sorts of functions. Okay. Yeah. So these, I mean, so far, do these look like things that we have used before, somewhat?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do they look like?
Our roster.
A what? Sorry.
Our roster.
It looks like some type of form.
Well, they're functions, right? I mean, they're just functions, or actions, pretty much. So let's kind of let's see. So get Pokemon roster, right? Okay. In our world, instead of let's make believe that instead of getting the Pokemon roster, we want all the characters. How would that work in our world? I mean, sorry, I'm just gonna cut you guys off here. Sorry.
Make a list? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I mean these are functions. We've used some functions before, right? Or actions, right? I mean, all these they're just normal functions and actions like we always use here. So instead, so let's just, I'm just gonna mess around with this here. So let's make believe that we are the Pokemon company, right? Pokemon Go company. And let's build this action here. Okay, so let's just call it public. And then it's gonna return maybe a string. And then let's see, I guess int ID. Okay. So first of all, before we continue, which I keep forgetting, the second part of this is that I know I asked this before, let me ask again. You guys understand that these are functions exposed out there in the internet that we can use? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. That is all we need, at least for now. Okay, that is a good understanding right there for this part. Um, they are functions out there that we can use, and they return some kind of. I think I'm trying to. Yeah, we're trying to do too many things at once here. Yeah, and they kind of and they return some information that we need. Okay, so so services consist of two parts. Okay, services, two parts. One, actual service providers. Mhm, mhm. As seen above. All right. So there are companies or anybody out there that provides a service or function calls that we can use, right? And what do you think is number two, which is kind of important? I think we should have started with this one. What do you think is the number two? It's consumers, right? Service.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, service consumers. And I really should have started with the service consumers part instead of the actual providers. Because I mean, we can be both. But coming from the consumers part is a lot easier, I think, or at least from our perspective. Um, yeah, so service consumers here. Hold on. Let's see. All right. So I know this is a silly question, but what do you think are service consumers, and give me some kind of examples? And this is the important part here because this is what's going to clinch it all together, I think. Was that Dave? Sorry, kind of low.
That's reading.
It's raining?
No, reading the service consumer.
Yeah, so using the server, right? Using the service. So which service? Well, give me an example. Like what? Well, if we give me an example of somebody who would use the police department service.
Police.
Yeah, the police, right? Yeah. So let's say that the police has some kind of application or our kind of application, like a browser, right? And then they go, they use their their browser, and in there somewhere they call this service, right? Using the service. So police uses browser app to call the service and check play. All right. Let's see. Give me an example for the Yankees. Like, who would be a consumer for that Yankees Get Roster application? I mean, service.
Baseball fans.
Yeah, baseball fans and baseball fan apps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you guys seen all these fantasy league football, or what is it? Fantasy league. Is that what it is?
Sports gambling.
Yes, yeah. So fantasy leagues, right?
Yes.
So all fantasy league websites consume the roster, right? The get roster, um, get roster service call a function. Okay. Yeah, so that sort of makes sense right there, right? All right. Well, give me an example for the Pokemon one. What consumes the Pokemon roster service or function?
Mostly players, right?
Yeah. The application that the players use. So the app itself, yes. Pokemon Go. Yeah. So the application itself is calling that, it's connecting, well, it's calling that service, right? Yeah. So the game pretty much. The game application is calling that service. So get Pokemon roster. All right. Okay. One more. Give me an example for banks. Check balance. Who uses that?
The bankers would probably have that in their tellers, basically.
Yeah, tellers definitely. So tellers would have some kind of application in their computer to do it, right?
Yes.
But also, do you guys use like have one of those like the Chase apps on your phones?
Yes, I do.
So and when you log in, right, it shows you the balance somewhat, right? I think.
Yes.
Yeah, because you get information also. Also, have you guys ever sent a text saying BAL or balance to some kind of, well, to your bank account?
I
And
haven't,
then
but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yes, uh, so that is also a service that is out there waiting and ready to send information back. So it's kind of listening all the time. So remember, services are always listening for your, um, let me see, for your request. For your request. Provides needed information. Yeah, so services are something that is always listening out there for your request, and when they get it, it it answers it right away. Yeah, so tellers, bank apps, or just apps, um, probably text. Yeah. Apps that get info from bank. Okay, so this is really good. So this is really good here. This is really good. Okay, so now, so far we understand that there are two sides to this. We have that we know that we can consume a service. So we can, we could call a service call, right? I mean, we could do a service call and get information. And we know that there are services exposed out there that are always listening and are ready to give us information. Is that legit so far? Yes, somewhat. Yeah, sorry, yeah, I know. I really should have started with this second part, by the way. I kind of went the ultra shortcut, which did not help. The shortcut was too short. Well, now is kind of the easy part anyway. Okay, so good, 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 good. So now I know it's 10:30, but let's bring this home. Let's bring this home because it's very important. So I'm in the home controller. Okay. Are you guys ready? Beautiful. I am in the home controller, and let's pretend that I am a bank. I'm a bank. Okay. You guys ready? I'm a bank. What are we? Wake up. We're banks. Okay. So in our application, we have a web application because we're a cool bank or something, right? And our action is gonna be called well, it's gonna maybe some kind of long. It's gonna return some kind of number. Get Tasty Balance, because our bank is called the Tasty Bank. Okay, so get Tasty Balance. Okay. So in order to get somebody's balance, what would I need?
An ID.
Yeah, some kind of ID, right? So let's say long ID. Okay, so now I've lied to you guys. Okay, you see? We're a Tasty Bank, right? But all we are, we don't really, all we're kind of like a front for a bank, right? But we don't really have our own code. We use we're kind of, what do you call that when you belong to another business? Or like you're using someone else's business like McDonald's or something. Franchise.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so we're franchise. And we use the services of these banks here. So we use this bad boy here. All right, so let's see, so check balance. So, which is good because we don't need to mess around with any kind of balance or anything, right? We can just use the main branches because we're kind of like just a small branch of the main, of the main one, right? They're the ones that keep all the money centralized and all that stuff. So, and they have a service that that they provide to check the balance. So how would I check the balance? In your mind, how do you think so?
Well, they're gonna need our account number.
Hmm. Well, let's just make believe that the ID is the account number or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's just say call it account number. Account number right here. Yeah. And it's called check balance, the function. So, I mean, normally you would do something like this. I mean, this is very simplified, but this is getting the point across here. you would do check balance. You see, you say balance. No, balance or balance equals check balance account number. Okay. And then you would return the balance, right? Okay. I mean, there's a glaring problem here. I know you notice it. But for now, let's make believe that this is a magic. We're living in a magical world, right? And let's make believe that this function works, however we're using it now. But would this satisfy using, is this a good example of using the service? Well, I mean, I just say it is, think is.
All we want is to return the balance, so.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much, right? Get tasty balance, yeah. So our application is consuming or using this service. Right? Okay. Now, and then we're using that service and returning information, getting that information and then returning it. Does all of this make sense here? Yes? Yeah. Okay, now I'm about to give it to you right here, just like DMX. Okay. Which is something that I kind of stepped over, I guess. Have you guys noticed that this is kind of just magical here, right? This is just a magic call somewhere. It's not connected anywhere. It's not connected to the internet. It doesn't even exist, right? Yes. So the way that you make it exist is that you can access it through the internet using real magic is using a something called equals new web request. It might not be here, but yeah, no. Web request. Okay, so potential fixes system.net. Okay, so make believe, okay, and web request, and then you give it a URL. Some kind of URL. Okay, that URL is going to be the URL for the server, the actual URL for the service, right? And then we're going to say something like connection dot check balance. Okay. Yeah, this is kind of advanced stuff. I really should have stuck with just like an overview of what it is, what's a web service. I think we sort of all understand it already. Yeah, so let's go back and I think I need to continue this later on so I can explain it a lot better and a lot more succinctly. Yeah. So again, let me just do this here though. So again, URL for service. And then in that service, actually in this one it would be for bank service. All right. And then this is so the web request. Do you guys see how we use that that database connection here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this, it's sort of another type of database connection. But instead of a database connection, it's connecting to services like this. All right. Yeah, I think we're just gonna stop here with this because I think we're getting more confusing than anything else. But I think that we covered the main idea of what it is. We don't really have to uh, know 100% how to actually do them because, frankly, at my job we don't really use them, at least not that much. And they're kind of an advanced topic. But just know that they are a way to expose functions or services uh, that provide information. Yes, I really should just delete all of this and just say, hey, services or functions that provide information. And again, let's see. Yeah, I'd kind of, I think I wasted a lot of time there, but let's see. Okay, so services, functions that provide information over the web. Yeah, that's all it is. And see below. Yeah, so what's a web service? All it is just it's just services or functions that provide information over the web or some functionality over the web. Melody over the web. Beautiful. Okay, so now let's rest our brain. I think I hit you two guys. I mean, we kind of went on a tangent and used up way too much time on this. I mean, it's a good topic to cover, but frankly, this can wait for later. It's kind of an advanced, somewhat topic. But from 1 to 10, do you guys have an idea of what a web service is now, at least to some extent? 1 to 10. Is it a 5 at least or a 6?
A 5.
A 5? Okay. All right. Dan, are you a 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. It's yeah. I really kind of started at the wrong end and the wrong way because it's really easy for NVC to do web services, but I forgot to explain that it's not as simple. I really should have just yeah. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna let you go tonight. Well, today because it's already 10:42. Jesus Christ, time flies. And Dave, work on that assignment.
Oh, I posted it just now.
Oh shit! All right.
Check it.
Okay, let me see. And Dan, you know what to do. Keep practicing.
Practicing.
Make sure don't get too hung up on the services. We don't even use services at work, so you may forget it. I mean, yeah, we we don't use them, so it's fine. I think yeah, my apologies, wasted too much time there. Okay, so let me see. Public, get make. Ooh. Okay. Car color. Well, all right. The first one is correct. The second one, the third are wrong, my friend.
Damn it.
Well, the first one you're setting the make, so that's fine.
Okay.
Actually, it's wrong. This is backwards.
What?
Actually, the first one is get make. So first of all, it doesn't need to get any parameters. All you're returning is just return make. You're overcomplicating it. It is somewhat correct. It is correct. But it doesn't need any parameters. It doesn't take anything. It doesn't expect any information. It returns something, but it doesn't need anything. The second one is get age. Are you returning the age?
Um,
Age is a calculated value, my friend. You have failed. You're just returning the year. The age of the car is the now minus the year it was made. Right?
what
Yeah.
Oh,
Tisk tisk, my friend. Tisk tisk.
damn it.
Okay, no problem. See, that's why it's important to take your time, slow down, and read. Okay, set color. Okay, so, well, this one, the main point is to set the color. So you take a color and you set it to the property, which the property is called color, but you're not setting it. You are returning it instead. So you have failed, my friend. You have failed.
Uh,
Here you got maybe a 33% there. Go back to the drawing board and do it again. Remember, think about it, follow directions. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you guys now. Use your heads, rest your heads, and again, my apologies because yeah, this thing yeah, I think we kind of overdid it on the services here, but at least once we hit services, again, we'll have a better understanding, a better idea what they are. So there's always that. But I think we wasted about 20 minutes going over too many of these things because I went the wrong way. Okay. Any questions? Well, let me stop here.